Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Get Into It with Gila. Today, we're doing something a little bit differently. Today, I have Shira Fruchter here again. Hi, Shira.
Hey.
Hey, so Shira is joining me for the second time. This is not going to be the episode that we talked about that in one of my episodes that I introduced you in the intro, that I want to have you come back on and talk about IFS, internal family systems. And we want to do another potentially live demo, or we'll figure it out, collaborate. And I love your flexibility. But for the purpose of today's mini podcast, short episode, Shira and I were just talking yesterday, and we wanted to offer a workshop, a one workshop, or maybe even a two-part series workshop on IFS. And specifically now, right after Pesach, when people are struggling with perhaps the amount of food that they ate or the amount of food that they were around, or maybe people around them who are talking about diet culture or the thin ideal, or things that are really, really triggering that come out over Yantif, over the holidays. I really wanted Shira to facilitate the class, the workshop, teach people like the very tiny, short parts of IFS, internal family systems, and then I would be there to help moderate through the lens of intuitive eating. So, Shira, what do you think about that? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was so excited about this idea. Also, as I said, I always loved intuitive eating. I know Shira Savitt here, and she's a colleague of mine and a friend, and I really love the approach. And I have definitely explored in my private practice people's parts around food, weight, body image, and I thought it would be so cool to just spend an entire workshop specifically for what you do, and have people really look at how are these parts protecting me, and seeing, the body image, hating your body, shaming your body, or loving the food or wanting the food as parts that are here to protect us. And it's a different way of thinking. And I think a collaboration of the two models would really help people move and just kind of understand themselves.
I think
it's a different lens. So
I think that I've said this to clients before, and I'll open it up to listeners of the podcast and also, current clients and past clients. But I've told this to people before, that sometimes when they're using food to cope and they just don't know why, sometimes it's just so much deeper. So I feel like your approach, the IFS model, really helps us understand how, like, even though we could be doing something that feels painful or feels destructive, is also helping us in a lot of ways.
Exactly. I was talking to someone this morning who was saying that she gained weight over the Chag, and now she's, she wants to lose her weight, and she's so upset with her weight, and she still wants to eat, and she calls it grazing. She wants to graze, she wants to graze, she wants to graze, and she hates that she's grazing. And the question is, how is grazing helping you? Because somehow grazing is a part that also really wants to show up.
Right.
And when we shame our parts, we don't know how they're really serving us. So yes, that would be what I would bring, to the front, is how is this part serving me?
Right. And I want to say this for listeners, for my podcast, as well as your following, or your clients, or people who will join, or at least this is what I get sometimes from clients or listeners. Like, the person who you interviewed said something that was weight shaming. That was not who I interviewed, who I feel like they overlap in my line of work, but because intuitive eating is so sensitive to anything around weight, not everyone who I interview knows about that. And I think that the way that I approach it is like to educate the person who I'm interviewing and be educated by them in their field. That's what I like to do. Like, I think that I stick to very true to the intuitive eating model, but I still bring people in who aren't 100% familiar, but just to, I guess, make space for the fact that could still be triggering for somebody who's struggling with making peace with food, making peace with their body, learning the intuitive eating model. I bring somebody onto the podcast that doesn't know exactly the intuitive eating model. They feel a little bit like thrown under the bus. So I kind of want to shed light on that and just say Shira's super open to hearing about intuitive eating, and the class or the workshop would be you teaching it through the lens that you understand it, and me moderating so that it is still in line with intuitive eating.
I love that. I'm so curious about that whole idea of how maybe I said something now that might have insulted or provoked a listener. And I really am so curious about that whole concept of not going towards the weight loss or, having agendas around weight loss or dieting culture, and kind of, I would love to explore that part. Like, it really fascinates me. I don't know about that. Honestly, I don't. And I'm so open to hearing.
You said when we were talking yesterday, not here on the recording, you were saying that like there's 8 C's of IFS, right? And one of them is curiosity.
8 C's of self. Yeah.
You're also,
Yeah.
so that curious part that like is what I'm always trying to help clients get to, right? Like,
Yes.
let's explore that, right? And I don't even think you might have said something that would provoke someone, but through my lens, it's like I always say this to clients, like it's okay to want to lose weight, to have the desire. Makes sense. We live in a world with wanting to lose weight, but also like, where does it come from? Does it come from because if you feel like if you lost weight, you would be more loved, more accepted? Is it true? Has it shown to be true? Can you accept yourself at this weight? So that's so much of this work.
Okay. So intuitive eating, you're allowed to want to lose weight, and you're allowed to say things like when I said, oh, this person said this morning she really wants to lose 5 pounds. That language is okay for intuitive eating, Gila?
Yes. And I appreciate the question. I think that, sometimes people, let's say I would interview somebody who doesn't quite get it, and they'll say like, but I still had to lose weight because I was overweight. Like we were saying yesterday, in intuitive eating and health at every size, we don't really even agree with the language of overweight, because that's assuming that there's a correct weight.
Okay. And what about like health or medical standards? Do you guys go by that, or that's not kind of in the picture?
So question. So basically, like what the research shows through like the intuitive eating research and health at every size is that you could be healthy and you could be in a larger body or at a BMI that's considered overweight or obese, but still be healthy. Like there's nothing.
Love it.
And you could be at a quote unquote healthy BMI and still have tons of other health factors. So it's not that we neglect health. We still focus on healthy behaviors, but weight isn't a behavior.
Got it. So what wouldn't be acceptable is like talking about overweight parts. Is that acceptable, or that's already kind of shaming because it's assuming it's an overweight part?
So I think that I honestly think if you were doing that, let's say you were to say, okay, we're going to address the overweight part, right?
No, I would never say that. But let's say someone said to me, I feel so fat.
Right.
And then I said the fat part. You know what I mean? Like if it's their language, I wouldn't put the language, but if they use that language, or maybe they wouldn't use that language either.
So we use fat as a neutral term, just like skinny is a neutral term, even though skinny is so not a neutral term. I mean,
at
like
all.
brown,
I was going to say underweight hair. Also.
Okay.
So fat is brown hair.
Like we try to neutralize it.
It's very interesting, Gila. It's such an interesting thing because, we don't have time for this now. We can explore it at length a different time. I don't want to, steal the time for this, but I would really be fascinated to think about that because there's a larger context of the world. It's like saying rich is a neutral term.
Right. But isn't it funny? I know I hate to compare like anything with weight and intuitive eating and anything to Judaism, but I do kind of compare that like Jews are like less than the world, right? But
Jews are what?
Less than 1% of the world.
Oh, right.
Right? Yeah. But we culturally like still do the things that we do, even though we see people around us who think.
Oh, beautiful. Agree? Love that. Great analogy. Yes. Powerful. No, it's very powerful. You're right. It's a beautiful, powerful thing. Really well stated. Yes, Gila. I love that.
Right.
So we could do this. You're saying we could do this, basically. We could do this. We could do it, even though the world is not doing it. We could do it. We could dress modestly if the entire world is not. So we could decide fat is neutral, even if no one else is going to think that.
I wouldn't say nobody else nowadays, because I think that the intuitive eating, health at every size is making some sort of a splash. And you're probably even seeing that in your work, because you see that people who try to lose weight don't usually keep the weight off, or there's just so much layers and layers and layers that really have nothing to do with the weight.
I'll be honest, even more than that, Gila, I see so much body dysmorphia, so much more than the weight or the overweight or the fat. I see people that are just unhappy with themselves and with their bodies, and just tons of body dysmorphia and overemphasis on how we look. I would say almost every woman I see has something going on, including myself. I'm saying we're all we're all so caught up in it. and it's really, we're harming each other because of it. It's so hard to break free.
So hard to break free. But the really interesting thing is, like, on the one hand, it makes a lot of sense, let's say in the secular world, or people like myself who have social media, right? So what comes out a lot on social media now is that there's something called filters. I don't know if you could put a filter on and it will look like you're completely unblemished.
Oh, I heard of this.
Look skinnier, and it will give you lashes. Yeah, and people
can't. I'm in shock.
And you're like scrolling through Instagram, watching people who literally look perfect. So that's just, let's say, me and the rest of the world who has social media. Most people who have social media. So
hard.
What about the people like you? You don't have social media. What about the clients that I have who are Hasidish and completely sheltered, and they tell me, I was raised with the belief that a beautiful, good wife is a skinny wife. So where does that come from? It doesn't come from the Torah.
Totally. I know. And you should know, one of the things I tell people, one of the most interesting things I do, not professionally, this is like a pet peeve of mine, is sometimes I'll meet like people that are just so spiritual, so from, so much Yireh Shamayim, so much Abbas Hashem, and still need to be so skinny. And I'll literally challenge them. It's really a pet peeve. It's totally a part. And I'll be like, explain it to me. Just, is it a mitzvah? Like, really, is it a mitzvah? You have so much Yireh Shamayim, and you and I both know this is not going to be important at the end of days. So where is it coming from, this drive? I don't even understand. I've never gotten a good answer. Never. I actually wonder why, as women, the more kids we could have a pride in our bellies, proof of the kids. People in my community have 12 kids and still need to lose that baby weight. It's exhausting. I'm telling you. You're right. It really runs the gamut.
It's odd. I think so I just want to say this, that I took your course, and one of the coolest parts about it was that you were able to do the live demo with two people live.
Yes.
I'm saying that you would offer that in the workshop, that if somebody would be willing to explore those parts of themselves that, let's say, wants to cook really yummy food with lots of oil and sugar and mayo, but they also want to feed it to their kids and watch them enjoy it, but they also hate themselves if they're fat, or hate themselves if they're not even a size 2.
Completely.
Imagine if somebody would explore those parts.
Yes, and the polarization. And that's the main thing with the eating and the food, is we are such a polarization between so badly wanting to look amazing and be skinny and be thin, or whatever word you want to use. At the same exact time, we love food. We want the food, and we don't want to give it up. It's complete polarization. Then you throw the value piece in there.
Oh, yeah. I guess it's a polarization because society makes it a polarization, because it makes sense that we all want food.
Yeah, but the degree to which. No, Gila, the degree to which.
Yes. I think that piece usually comes from restricting, because of all the years of restricting and the years of being told you shouldn't eat that. It doesn't make sense the way that we're raised. It doesn't make sense. You shouldn't want to eat like that. You shouldn't eat those foods, but we serve them every Shabbos. It doesn't make sense. Yes. So I'm not criticizing anyone. I'm just trying to validate the experience. So I guess what's coming to mind for me right now is that, like, this workshop is not for somebody struggling with an active eating disorder at all.
Yes. Nice.
And it's for somebody who probably has some background in intuitive eating, and who understands that we're not going to be shaming anyone for their weight. We're not going to be shaming any specific weight. It will just be a safe space where me as a dietitian and an intuitive eating professional, you as a therapist specializing in IFS, and totally willing and accepting for me to challenge anything that you say that's out of alignment.
1,000,000%. I don't receive it as a challenge. Right.
Do you see how relaxed she looks? I love it.
I don't receive it as a challenge. I love it.
You're welcoming it.
Yeah. What would it be welcome?
I'm so excited.
Why wouldn't it be welcome? Yeah. I'm so excited.
We're recruiting for this workshop, hoping to be next Wednesday.
Yeah. Yes.
12 p.m. Next American Wednesday. Time, 8 p.m. Israel time. Because I'm in America. And do we have
Israel? Yeah. People from Israel can come on. Israel time, 8 p.m.
You have a space constraint, like how many people you would want on or not want on?
No. What do you feel, Gila?
see who reaches out.
Yeah, I can go. I'm saying I'm fine. Like we could,
We
I
want
would say
people to
like,
share. We want people who are willing to share and be vulnerable.
yeah,
But
yeah. But I think I really think these I've always found that people who come to these groups and join, there is some type of energy that creates a brave space.
mhm.
And I guess I would say, between somewhere around 15, maybe we can go to, does that sound reasonable, Gila?
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, I would
Want
go,
to
I always
say,
think minimum 10 and up to 20, but no.
I want to say, look for a sale afterwards if people want to watch the live demo. I just want to say that if it hinders people from sharing, then it's something important as well.
That's the one thing we have to think about. Yes, because when I offer my workshops, it's a 4-part series, and I always say the first 3 are recorded, and you can get it after, but I don't record the 4th because I feel like no matter what, well, somehow parts might get flared up and not be able to go where they need to go and not be fully curious or open. And it would concern me that someone should share and it should be recorded. I don't know. We could think about it. We could be open, but it does make me a little nervous.
It just really, when we did our episode and I tried to share as openly as I could, and I also interviewed Faggy Pollock on EFT, and I find myself, and I did an episode on psychodrama with Bruchy Moskowitz, and I
Nice.
go back and watch those because you could see it's not really live because again, it's not my full self-disclosure, but it's when you try to explain something that's not really easy to explain.
I know. To watch it is amazing.
Watch it is amazing.
1,000,000%. Well, we're gonna do another podcast.
Yes, we're gonna
together, and we could explore more, me and you, and let's see what happens. Let's see what the feedback is. Let's see what people want, and we'll be flexible.
Great. So we're recruiting for this. I will put this on my podcast, and I will put it wherever you see me on Instagram and LinkedIn and YouTube. And Shira, I'll put your email address as well, and you'll share with your audience, and we'll make this happen next Wednesday.
Looking forward. Can't wait.
Hey, thanks so much. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.